Alright, the topic of this lesson is adding and subtracting polynomials, so there's some important information you need to know before we start adding and subtracting. First thing you need to know is what a monomial is. That's an important definition. So a monomial is a number or a product of numbers and variables with whole number exponents. So that's important, it has to have whole number exponents. So monomials can be combined when they are like terms. So when we're adding and subtracting polynomials, you're going to see that we're going to combine the monomials that are like. So here's some like terms down here. 3x squared and 5x squared, those are monomials that could be combined. 4y cubed and negative 4y cubed, because they have the same variable and the same exponent with the variable, they could be combined and they're like monomials. Okay, so you can see here xy squared, 1/2, and negative 3/4, those could be combined, those are monomials. And also, sometimes we forget that just regular numbers are monomials. So any kind of numbers, rational numbers, they can all be combined and they all count as monomials. Alright, so moving on. The second thing that we need to know if we're going to be adding and subtracting polynomials is what a polynomial is. So a polynomial is a monomial or a sum or difference of monomials. So just one monomial is still considered a polynomial, or if we are adding or subtracting them, they are polynomials. So, some things you need to remember. They cannot have variables in the denominators, that's important. They cannot have roots or absolute value of variables. And lastly, you should remember that all variables must be whole number variables. Okay? So, down here, polynomials. We have 3x to the 4th, 2y 12th plus 9m to the 4th, 3t squared minus t cubed, or 1/2 a to the 5th. Okay, so those are all examples of polynomials. Okay, over here, some things that are not polynomials. 3 to the x, okay, because you can't have an exponent that's a variable. The absolute value of a polynomial, that is not a polynomial. When you have a variable in the denominator, that's not a polynomial. You cannot have square roots, and you cannot have rational exponents. So this should actually say all variables must have whole number exponents. Okay, so they must have whole number exponents, not variables. Okay. So now let's get to adding and subtracting. So how do we add and subtract polynomials? So here's what a problem might look like. Okay, so first, you should put it in standard form. So you need to know that standard forms are terms written in descending order by degree. So the degree is the exponent. So you want to put them in descending order. So here, we have first, we're going to put this in standard form. So we have the 3x squared, then we have the x, which is to the first degree, and then we have 7. Okay, so we put them in order. So we wrote them in standard form, and then we're going to align the terms of the second one. So when we align the terms, you see there was no x cubed, so that's going to go out here by itself. And then we align the x squared with the 3x squared, the minus x with the plus x, and then the plus 2 with the plus 7. Then we're just going to add the terms. So you just go on, you add the terms. Of course, positive x and negative x make 0x, and you just add all the terms. Okay, finally combine like terms and get rid of any zeros. So here, we got rid of the 0x and we shrunk it down to its final answer. Alright, let's look at another example. Okay, so another way to do this, here's our example at the top. Another option is to group the terms horizontally. So just like it looks, I'm going to group them horizontally. I still put them in standard form, so I have the biggest one up here, 16x to the 3rd with the highest degree. Then I group together the x squared. And I make sure I take the sign in front of them. So notice this was a negative 36x squared. And notice this was 6x squared, so I know that's positive. So I put a plus 6x squared. Okay, then I have the 6x, which was just by itself. And then I had a minus 11 and a minus 5, so I put minus 11 minus 5. Okay, so I can group them horizontally, and then I just combine each group of like terms. And then there's my final answer. So make your groups in standard form order, and then make sure your answer is in standard form. Alright, moving on. So when we subtract, it's going to be very similar. The only thing we need to remember is that before we start subtracting, we're going to change it to adding the opposite. So you learn this when you learn subtracting integers. So you're going to use this with subtracting polynomials. So you change the minus sign to a plus sign, and then you need to change each of these terms into their opposite. So in the red, you see I changed them to their opposite. So 3x squared became negative 3x squared, a plus 2 became a minus 2, and a minus 5 became a plus 5. So you change everything to its opposite. Once you've done that, now you just have an addition problem. So you just go back to exactly what we just learned about adding polynomials. So you can see here, you choose your favorite adding method. You could either use standard form and align the terms and then combine, or you could use this one, or you group them. So I grouped the highest degree, the squared, and then I grouped just the x's, and then I grouped the numbers. And I came up with the same exact answer no matter which method that I used. So either one is fine. Let's do one more example. Okay, so here's our last example. We have a subtraction problem here. So step 1 is to add the opposite. So we change it to an addition sign. And notice that everything changes to the opposite. This was 15, it becomes negative 15. Plus 3x becomes minus 3x. And minus 2 becomes plus 2. Second step, you can use whichever form you want. You can align them if you'd like, or you can group them horizontally. Personally, I like to group them horizontally, so I did that one this way. So I only had 5x cubed, there was no other like term. I grouped together the 6x squared and the negative 15x squared. Notice I took the sign in front of it, so it was a minus 15x squared. There was only one x, the negative 3x. And then I combined together the 12 and the 2, and when I combined them all, that was my final answer. And again, you can also align the terms if you like that method better.